Hey, hey, hey. Happy Tuesday. Come on in. Pull up a chair. Gaming Gang Dispatch is in the air. Howdy, gang, and welcome once again to the Duct Tape Studios. I'm Jeff McAleer, your host here at the Gaming Gang Dispatch. Welcome aboard, everyone, because tonight is Tuesday, April 21st, 2026. This is live stream 1312. Yikes, right? Yeah, it's true. It's over 1,300. I almost said 1,000. 1,300 live streams. Yikes. Anywho, if you're not overly familiar with the show, let me point out it's super casual. Just hanging around talking about the latest in tabletop role-playing game news. And then I'll usually talk about a topic related to our hobby, which I shall be doing tonight. Because we are going to explore if Cyberpunk RED from Talsorian Games is still essentially the go-to Cyberpunk role-playing game in 2026. So we will discuss after we talk about the news. Now, of course, if you're not watching videos here on the channel, by all means, be sure to visit thegaminggang.com for all latest in tabletop gaming news, reviews, and a whole lot more you are not going to find here on YouTube. You know the drill. Get your geek on at thegaminggang.com. And because this is a live show, that also means there's chat available. Now, you must be a subscriber to the channel for at least an hour before you can take part in chat. But if you check off that box and you want to say howdy, maybe you got a question, a comment, by all means, chime in. I will do my absolute best to respond. First out the gate tonight is good friend of the show, the Madman, who also happens to be one of our chat moderators, followed up by yet another good friend of the show, Agile Monk. Semper Buffo's with us, as is Boomerman Dan Webb, Kevin King, Kathy Evans, and very possibly the lovely and talented Miss Sarah D. Our other chat moderator may be lurking in the shadows. Very possible. So howdy, everybody. Good to see all of you once again. Got a big show tonight to dive on into. So let's begin, because my first news piece happens to be about Cyberpunk RED, which actually is what got me to thinking about tonight's topic, because pre-orders have begun for Night City 2045. It is the latest supplement for Cyberpunk RED, and I've got the lowdown from Talsorian Games. Welcome to Night City 2045, Chumba, a monster source book containing over 300 jam-packed pages of information about the definitive cyberpunk setting. This guide includes information about the geography, government, and logistics of Night City, including a complete history, information on citizenship and laws, data on transportation, services, utilities, and media. Details on Night City's street-level factions, including 44 gangs, 6 criminal organizations, and 23 security providers. A district-by-district breakdown of the Night City of 2045. 24 districts, each with its own unique character. You'll know who's in charge, who lives there, and what events have happened recently. You'll find over 600 locations, stores, clinics, gang headquarters, corporate fortresses, mega buildings, and more, all laid out on gorgeous maps so you'll know exactly where to go the next time you're out for a drive. There are also 99 stat blocks to help you populate Night City, from gang mooks to criminal enforcers to corporate security. even a few everyday people to help make the dark future come alive. The 312-page hardcover is slated to arrive at Origins Game Fair, I should say. That is June 17th. Now, right now, you can pre-order the hardcover with PDF for $60. The PDF right now is out. It is over at DriveThruRPG, and you can get your hands on that for $30. So yes, more content for Cyberpunk RED, this time delving into its home setting, essentially, Night City. And yes, I see Sarah D is with us tonight. Welcome. On to our next news piece. There's a revised edition of Rune Lore, which has arrived from Talsorian Games. That is for Castles and Crusades. Here's what I know. Welcome to Rune Lore, a revised and updated source book for Castles and Crusades that brings rune magic to you. This third branch of magic, complementing the arcane and divine, reveals the magical power contained in the ancient words of the All-Father. Within this book, you'll find the secrets of rune magic, background rune lore, their use in gameplay, and the codices that contain them. These shall include the runes of the Novice Initiate. Yowza. My voice is kind of raspy today. I don't know why. It's not like I've been using it a whole lot. Anyway, these shall include the runes of the Novice Initiate, followed by Shadow runes, Winter runes, Dream runes, Dragon runes, Chaos runes, and more. From the history of the runes and the orders that guard and use their secrets, to the rules that guide gameplay and a roster of rune spells and rune mark class, Rune Lore brings all your runic magic into one easy-to-use book. The 90-page softcover is available now. It carries an MSRP of $14.99. If you want to grab that bundled up with the PDF, you can do so for $19.99. Or if you want to grab just the PDF alone, you can do that for $9.99. So we have had a wave of new, or at least revised, Castles and Crusades releases as of late. In fact, 4 in total. And we will actually be taking a look at those 4 in the not too distant future, because I believe my package has shipped out or is about to ship out from our friends over at Talsorian Games. And Danny Gable and Mark Edwards are both with us tonight. Welcome to you. Good to see you both once again. All right, so let's talk about saving some money. Now, last week we talked about the Dune Adventures in the Imperium physical bundle that was available over at Humble Bundle. It is pretty much sold out. I think there are 3 items that are left in that. But there's also another Dune bundle. This time it's for the entire line digitally. And I've got the deets on the deal. Ride the worm to tabletop victory. If you've ever wanted to see how well you'd survive Frank Herbert's vast Dune universe, and maybe bring some of your friends along for the sandworm ride, there's a bundle of digital tabletop role-playing game resources for you. Enter Modiphius's Dune Adventures in the Imperium role-playing saga with the Agents of Dune Deluxe Starter Set and the full Masters of Dune Adventure. Read up on the lore with the Houses of the Landstrad and Emperor's Court supplements. Explore the Imperium with PDF copies of exciting standalone storylines like the Guild Highliner Murder Mystery, Dune Fatal Journey, and the Desert Set Survival Challenge, Dune Coriolis Storm. Also included is the Game Master's Toolkit and core rulebook to make designing your own adventures a breeze. All this and more is included in this bundle, and for those who prefer playing on an actual tabletop, well, you missed out. You could have gotten those physical books, but they all pretty much gone. Now you can jump aboard for as little as $5. If you want to go in for the minimum donation of $20 or more, $20, well, of course, and more, or if you want to, because remember, this is for charity. Well, I shouldn't say charity. It does benefit an organization. You can grab all 16 PDFs, which are on offer, which is the whole line of the game, for $20. That's about the cost of the core rulebook in PDF. No joke. And your purchase will help support the ACLU. So I'm telling you, this is a rockin' deal out there, folks. It really, really is. Now, these savings are going to run through May 2nd. And I should point out, as of today, the Gaming Gang is an affiliate of Humble Bundle. How's about that? It was funny because over on the Discord server, somebody had messaged me and they had asked, hey, are you an affiliate of Humble Bundle? Because I'm going to go buy that Dune bundle. And I just want to make sure if you're an affiliate, I'm clicking on the right link. And I said, no, you know what? I'm not. And then I was like, you know what? I should take a peek. And I did. And here it turns out it's part of an affiliate network that I am actually a member of. I just had never asked Humble Bundle to be an affiliate. And they got right back to me and said, yep, you're in. So if you are going to pursue this bundle, swing on over to thegaminggang.com. You will see the news piece right there on the front page, just a few items down. Click on that. There'll be a link. And of course, if you make that purchase, I will get a small commission on that deal. But still, this is just an awesome deal to grab all of the Dune line. So there's also some discussion. Is Modiphius Entertainment losing the Dune license? I have not heard anything positive or negative in that, corner. I just have the feeling that it must be running out. The license must be running out because we are seeing all of these Dune deals, especially that physical bundle that they were offering. Well, they still are offering it. It's just almost everything's gone, which would lead me to believe that the end is nigh for Dune and Modiphius Entertainment, which is a shame, really, because it's actually a really good role-playing game. Yes, I think it's brought down a little bit because it does use the 2D20 system that people just, for some reason, some folks can't wrap their heads around all that easily. I don't think it's all that difficult, but still. And I thought there was supposed to be isn't there supposed to be a Benny Jesuit or something? I forget how it's pronounced. I thought there was supposed to be a source book, but I guess maybe that won't be happening. I don't know. Ravenclaw's joined us in chat saying they think Cyberpunk RED is the only go-to Cyberpunk role-playing game in 2026. Well, I don't know. We're going to talk about that. Tessie Trekkie has also joined us. Very well. Tessie Trekkie's carrying on about Gary Gygax. It's like, okay. All right. Sometimes I wonder if Tessie Trekkie starts drinking before they arrive on the scene. Lately, they've been out there a little bit. Benny Gesserit, that's it. Thank you. It's been a while since I saw the movie. Savage Splendor and Zarquan are both popping on in. Good to see you both. Ravenclaw says, I'm drinking now. Well, enjoy. Enjoy. All right. Let's move right along because the latest Pathfinder 4 Savage Worlds box set is available in PDF from Pinnacle Entertainment Group. Here's the scoop on Carrion Crown, a realm of horror from the whispering shadows of haunted Usalav. An ancient evil rises to grip the world in a new age of horror. Amid the midst of this land is dark superstition. I don't know why I put dark suspicion. It's superstition. And dread secrets stand both those who would defy the return of evil and those who would seek its terrible favor. Can the heroes discern their allies from their enemies in time to save a tortured realm from a tyrant's return? Pathfinder's darkest and most frightening campaign ever sets the heroes against the agents of Galarian's most notorious villain, the Whispering Tyrant, on a terrifying trek across a land of lurking horror and ancient mysteries. Pinnacle loves Pathfinder and horror, so of course they were eager to bring the Carrion Crown adventure path to their award-winning Pathfinder 4 Savage Worlds. The Carrion Crown box set includes Haunting of Harrowstone, Trial of the Beast, Broken Moon, Wake of the Watcher, Ashes at Dawn, Shadows of Gallows Spire, the Carrion Crown Player's Guide, a bestiary, a campaign map, adversary cards, and player handouts. The Carrion Crown books are between about 60 to 96 pages each. Now, the PDF is out. It's available over at DriveThruRPG for $49.99. The physical box set did crowdfund, but it is not available for pre-order just yet. And I did take a peek to see if there were like late pledges open. There are not. So stay tuned. I would expect probably information about that pre-order might be on the horizon. Although, if you have not heard, Jody Black of Pinnacle Entertainment Group is hospitalized at the moment. I guess she was diagnosed last year with some terrible, incurable lung issue. And I guess they're exploring a double lung transplant. So I very sorry to hear that. I met Jody Black and her husband Clint a couple of times. I interviewed her once, and very nice, very cool. I think they even had to shut down their game table company because of the health issues. So there's also a GoFundMe page that has been created because, of course, come on. I mean, they are, game company owners. What kind of insurance do they probably have, if any? I don't know. So very sorry to hear that. Also, some other bad news in the hobby space that we'll talk about after the news. Yeah. Sucks getting old, folks. It really does. All right. Our final news piece. There's a fresh adventure for Shadowrun 6th World. It's landed. I've got the sit rep from Catalyst Game Labs. Corporate chaos, Seattle style. Corporate sabotage has never been so messy. Erie's move in Atlanta needs Omnistar to be tied up with a PR nightmare. The job trickles into the Seattle Shadow community, but how to embarrass the AA rated corporation is still a big unknown. A pixie bodyguard for a local fixer has plans for her weekend and dumps this legwork on the runners, kicking off a deceptively simple investigation into Metadine's Auburn research facility. What starts as a quiet recon quickly unravels into office politics, toxic waste, and a mysterious project the Corp desperately wants to keep under wraps in a bunch of corporate dreck. The deeper the runners dig, the stranger it gets. Manodyne's secret is more than just another prototype. It's a 21-ton magical anomaly with the potential to reshape the balance of power. With corporate security tightening and a Johnson who didn't expect any of this, the team must decide how far they're willing to go to turn one AA megacorp's internal feud into a profitable payday. A bunch of corporate dreck delivers classic chaos, choices with consequences, and a finale where the runner's ingenuity determines who walks away with the payday and who doesn't walk away at all. Shadowrun Missions 2081-15, a bunch of corporate dreck, is once again for a Shadowrun 6th World. The 26-page PDF is available right now over at DriveThruRPG for $5.95. Yes. Very, very cool. Very, very cool. That's the trick. He says, I'm perfectly sober in command of my faculties. Oh, come on. I'm just messing around. Okay. So that is it for the tabletop role-playing game news of the day. Of course, I mentioned DriveThruRPG. Don't forget, the Gaming Gang, thus the Dispatch, is affiliated with the One Bookshelf sites. So if you're going to go stop by DriveThruRPG, please swing on by thegaminggang.com first. Click on one of our banners. That way, if you happen to make a purchase, I get 5% of that sale. Usually. Not on everything, but usually. And of course, all those commissions really do add up. Help keep thegaminggang.com around. Also, if you like the video, by all means, give it a quick thumbs up. If you're watching on mobile, hype the video. Spend some of those hype points. Help us out. And of course, if you are watching live, taking part in chat, give the little heart or thumbs up, or what is it, like a bouquet of flowers or something like that. Anything to help with the engagement. What can I tell you? I've heard some other weird stuff about what's going on YouTube, and it's not just gaming outlets that are getting hammered by the loss of views. I guess it's everybody. And YouTube has made another change to the algorithm that I guess is brutal for just about all the channels out there. And we have ChatGPT and Gemini and things like that to blame for it. Although it's weird, it shouldn't be affecting every outlet because the outlets that are more kind of like entertainment can't get that over on ChatGPT. The personality-driven outlets and stuff. So I just think it's something that's just hitting YouTube all over the place. But what can you do, kids? Just, bend down the hatches and see if you can ride it out. Maybe. Anyway, if you happen to enjoy the outlet, maybe you dig what we do. There are a couple other ways that you can help support the Gaming Gang. Number one, by making a one-time donation by way of PayPal. And a big thank you to a recent donation, once again, from Lisa Watkins. Much appreciated. Hell, she bought me some bottles of soda. Which is wonderfully tasty. And you can also become a monthly member of our Patreon. And I like to give a shout out during the live streams to our Patreon members, such as Ben Oathwaite, Caval, Kevin R. Smith, Talzek, Sean O'Donnell, Herman Letman, Gustavo Cavalho, Kevin King, GameCat, RPG Munch, Tier 2 DM, Fardrift, Pete Strakulich, Dan Webb, Tessie Trekkie, Agile Monk, the Madman, and Flint Fireforge. Thank you very kindly to each and every one of you. Much appreciated. All right, so jumping on into chat. So Wallona's Cave had mentioned, oh, I've got everything for Pathfinder Savage Worlds. Nice. I liked it. I got the core box I had gotten, and I reviewed it. I thought it was pretty cool. There was a really nice bundle that we're going to talk about on tomorrow's news. I stumbled across it late. I already had today's news all set up, but the news piece is already up over on thegaminggang.com if you want to take a peek. It is for one of the games that was one of my favorite role-playing games of last year. So it's something worth checking out. Anywho, Tessie Trekkie says they will refrain from commenting on the sick joke that is the U.S. and its healthcare system. Yeah, I'm with you on that. I am with you on that. And then, of course, there's always the, oh, but, like I get very, very honest with you. So like my father tells a story about an uncle back in Ireland who was having pain in his back, and he ended up going to the doctor, and they kept sending him home, and it turned out he had cancer, and he died from the cancer. And it's like, okay, well, maybe socialized medicine in 1950 wasn't so fantastic in the UK. Don't think that's the case now. And I hear from Canadians all the time talking about how their healthcare system, they never have any problems. All right, so Agile Monk with a $5 super chat says, if you want to help Jeff and the Gaming Gang, visit the site, give comments to the articles. Yes, it's weird. We'll go through waves. A lot of times I have to ask people to go visit. I mean, people in chat to go visit thegaminggang.com and drop a comment on any of the articles. That's weird. We don't get a lot of interaction, and I can kind of understand why. Because it's a news website. So it's not necessarily a website that's, asking for opinion, right? Like people will comment on a review video I'll do and share here on YouTube if they agree or disagree, what have you. But for the most part, you're looking at news items or Sammy's reviews, usually of Pathfinder and Starfinder stuff. And it's not like, oh, hey, what do you think? No. J-Man is with us tonight. Ravenclaw said it's not healthcare, it's health management. I get it. Well, in this case, said the most hype points they've received on a video was 6, and it made a huge difference. Really? I mean, don't people usually have like 800 and some hype points? Or maybe do they add up? I know, I'm sure if you use hype points, you probably get hype points back quicker. But usually when I hit video up with hype points like I do with the Atomic Snack Bar, if you haven't checked out that channel, it's fun stuff. It's always like 800 and some hype points. And I'm like, yeah, okay, bang. I didn't know you could sit there and be like, okay, well, I'm going to divvy some out. Okay, here's 6. So I'll have to swing over by Wallona's Games channel and make sure I'm on my phone and throw some hype points there. All right. So Ravenclaw says, from reading the website, I'm really thinking about picking up Chivalry and Magic. Do you mean Knights and Magic? You're talking about the miniatures rules that I own the rights to? I'm just curious. Ravenclaw says personality driven. You mean rage baiters? No, I mean outlets out there that are personality driven. So, to be honest, I think the rage baiters are maybe losing some traffic as well. Maybe not as much as the informational websites, or I should say outlets. I think what's really getting hammered are the educational outlets. So, yes, Ravenclaw says yes, they do. Yeah, it's from like 1980. So it's personally, it's an interesting system. I liked it when I played it as a teenager. Elliot played, our friend Scott, who pops in from time to time. He played. We all had our minis that we painted and stuff. So, and you can use it historically or as a fantasy game. And it actually has conversion rules for like AD&D first edition and stuff. So, yeah. It was basically abandoned and I picked it up. So that's basically what's going on. Grim Shady 2, the Revengeinator says, if you like Atomic Snack Bar, check out the Bad Movie Bible. Aha. And yes, Agile Monk points out that your hype points have to come from a mobile device. Yeah, I thought that was weird that it's like, well, no, you can't. No hype points if you're on your laptop. And it's like, what? It's like, okay. Ravenclaw says one of their obscure hobbies is picking up obscure miniatures, mass combat rules. Well, the rules were from Heritage. Heritage, to my knowledge, was the first company that actually had Lord of the Rings miniatures and had a Lord of the Rings miniatures game, which is actually built. It was like a slimmed down, very slimmed down Knights and Magic. So, like I said, I like it. I'm always kicking around trying to like revise it. And then I think to myself, you know what? I don't have the time. If I was doing that, I wouldn't be getting anything else done. So, badly enough. Spelling Mistake is with us tonight. Welcome aboard. So, anyway, so that was the news. Also heard that back on the 15th, Lou Zaki passed away. I believe it was the age of 72. Some of you might be wondering, Lou Zaki, why do I know that name? Why does Zaki ring a bell? Zaki Dice, baby. Zaki Dice. So, as far as Goodman Games goes, it's the DCC dice, Dungeon Crawl Classics dice, but they are the Zaki dice. Your D3, your D7, your D16. Yep. So, was sorry to hear that. Like I said, it sucks getting old. It really, really does. Really does suck. Agile Monk says Lou was the real dice man. Hey! Jack and Jill went up the hill to fetch a pail of water. It's like, yeah. You know, it's weird. I was never like a huge fan of Andrew Dice Clay. When he first came out, he was kind of funny. But I remember somebody loaned me, like, it was like a set of cassettes. It was like 4 cassettes, and it was like some show he did. And it was like, first of all, I was like, holy shit, 4 cassettes? Maybe it was 2 cassettes. And he was awful. People were walking out of this show, and he was sitting there, and it's like, so wait a second. So you sold this? And it wasn't like people were just offended they were walking out. I mean, he was shit. I was like, geez, he used to be funny on occasion, but it was like, oh my God. Danny Gable says, golden ears, my arse. Oh, Tessie Traggy says, oh, that sounds like a Dice Man joke. Worst part of getting old is things that shouldn't be stiff are and things that shouldn't be stiff aren't. Oh. All righty then. So tonight we're going to discuss, is Cyberpunk RED the go-to cyberpunk role-playing game in 2026? It has been in the past. Is that still the case? Well, we are going to discuss that. But of course, before we do that, I've got a brief intermission.
We are about to witness the takeoff of the first manned rocket to outer space. We pick up the count. 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0.
We're off to visit the planets. There are treats galore in the stars. Venus is loaded with candy, and ice cream is found upon Mars. The soda pop's fizzing on Saturn. When you're thirsty, it sure hits the spot. And Jupiter's really jumping with popcorn that's buttered and hot. But the best of them all is the planet where all of these treats are at hand. And that is the spot we now head for, our theater refreshment stand.
But done! It's refreshment time!
I'm Chili Dilly, the personality pickle. Packed in a jar for the freshest flavor. Served cold in a sack for you to savor. So dainty to eat, no muss, no fuss. An ideal snack for all of us. Crisp, tender, and tasty with a bit of spice. Buy one now. Taste how nice. Snack bar clerks will knock themselves silly, speeding your order for a real Chili Dilly.
A secret cave! Yipes! 40 thieves! With 40 knives! Time for your Cheerios, kid!
Right, Suit?
Get yourself go, get Cheerios, Energy-O's that help you grow. Get yourself go, power with Power O's. Come on strong with Cheerios. Start feeling your Cheerios.
Go with Cheerios!
Got your parachute?
I forgot it.
How about the Wilkins coffee?
I forgot that too.
You'll never forget this.
Alex Rain is a human being. His life is more dangerous with each sunrise.
Alex Rain will be destroyed somehow, some way.
He should die for what he's done!
In a future false world, he stands for truth.
He's a cop, all right.
In a violent world, violence is his life. He knows he must face the human condition alone.
It takes more than flesh and blood to be human, Alex.
I can't feel anything anymore.
Maybe you should take the time to find out what you care about, Alex.
You're not really human anymore, are you?
He knows the answer, but he doesn't know the question.
I think he accepted the story. By the time he learns the truth, it'll be too late.
He must face an ever-changing enemy in an eternal fight against an indestructible force.
I need your help with the cyborgs.
The never-ending battle line is drawn. They will never let him go.
Relax. Help me relax, Marion.
He has what they must have.
Jared's mind and soul, Alex.
In a world where humanity is measured in percentages, only Alex Rain knows the path to redemption, to the cyborg enemy. He is their nemesis.
You know, that Nemesis reminds me of another movie. I just can't put my finger on it. Kevin King says, makes me miss the 80s. Oh, wait. No, it doesn't. Actually, that was from 92. It did kind of look 80s, didn't it, though? Kind of wild. Kind of wild. For some strange reason, I think I saw that movie because I seem to recall the stop motion Terminator ripoff. That's the only part I'm like, oh yeah, I think I saw this movie. The rest of it, I'm like, I have no idea. But I can tell you that you can see that the director is like, oh, well, you know, we spent a lot of money on those explosions. You better show them multiple times from different angles. Like, oh, okay. Ravenclaw 74 says, Cyborg Commando, greatest RPG ever. That is a bold statement there. Pete Racklich is with us tonight. Good to see you once again. So, tonight, let's discuss, is Cyberpunk RED the go-to Cyberpunk role-playing game in 2026? I have my answer. I will reserve that till the end of the discussion. But I thought, rather than looking at my mug throughout the whole thing, let's actually take a peek at the core rule book for Cyberpunk RED, which the fine folks over at Talsorian Games back in the day were kind enough to provide for me to review, which I did review and liked it quite a bit. I do have one massive caveat to that, though, because the layout of the book is not good. It is not intuitive, really. In fact, I have heard from some people that they've taken the PDF and they have actually broken the PDF and actually rebuilt the book. Pretty wild. But this is Cyberpunk RED, the role-playing game of the dark future. Cyberpunk has been around for a long time. I will mention, if you are a fan of Cyberpunk 2077, which, let's be honest, when that first came out, oh my God, what a steaming pile of dog shit that was. And now that game is like game of the year kind of material. It is excellent. I won't say it runs like butter, but far, far smoother than it was at launch, and a lot of good content. So Cyberpunk 2077 is actually the cyberpunk setting from our Talsorian Games. You may not be aware of that. It is Johnny Silverhand, Cyberpunk, our Talsorian Games. Yes. So I gotta say that as far as cyberpunk role-playing games go, and tropes that you would have with the cyberpunk role-playing game, many of them originate from our Talsorian Games. things that you might be like, oh, yeah, that must be like, oh, that's got to be a Philip K. Dick kind of thing or a Bruce Sterling. Nope. Cyberpunk RPG. Because this has been around for a long time. Because we had Cyberpunk, then we had Cyberpunk 2020, and then, of course, 2020 came around. So, of course, it was like, well, gotta get a new Cyberpunk out there because this stuff isn't going on now. In fact, I think this is probably about, what, 2018-ish? No, it's 2020. How about that? Anyway, if you're not familiar with the mechanics of Cyberpunk RED, they're pretty easy. So you are looking at using a 10-sided die. So it's not a D20 game. Use a 10-sided die. You've got your attributes for what you're trying to do. So that's going to give you a bonus. It's going to be added to your 10-sided die. And then you also have a skill. So if you have a skill bonus, you're going to add that to your roll from your 10-sided die. And then you're either looking to beat your opponent, if it's some sort of a like combat, or if it's a challenge that's being contested by another character, NPC, then you're looking to beat their roll. If it's something that's basically a task that you're trying to perform, then you're just looking at a difficulty value, a DV, that you need to meet or exceed. So the book itself is just packed with content. This core rule book, that was one of the first things that I had noticed, is that there are probably more cool ideas packed in the, what do we got? 300 and some pages here. Oh, sorry. 454 in one book than you might find in an entire game series from other publishers. Now, once again, I do have to point out that the way this rule book is laid out is not the most intuitive in the world. So that is one thing that I think holds back Cyberpunk RED. Now let's talk about other Cyberpunk role-playing games that are out there, because there aren't many, especially that are still being published and being supported. Now, I know we had, was it Dark Conspiracy was from GDW? Of course, GDW is long gone. So that's no longer in print. So out of some of the releases that I have reviewed, you've got Cyborg, which uses the Mirkberg rule system. We also have the Neon Rain source book, which utilizes Cypher system, which is now going to be, as of this summer, it'll be called Cypher, with the new edition of that coming out. Obviously enough, we've got GURPS. There are GURPS releases out there. Ravenclaw says, don't forget Cyber Generation. Who is that from? That's ringing a bell. I think isn't that an oldie? I might be wrong. The artwork for Cyberpunk RED is excellent. I wish there was a little more of it in this core book. The supplements that have come after have been a bit more artwork heavy. Tess Trekkie says Cyber Generation is our Talsorian Games too. What's the difference? Because is Cyber Generation still being supported? I'm kind of curious. Yes, we've got Hardwired Island. I shared news of that, but I have never had really an opportunity to take a peek at it. So Daryl Errett's with us in chat talking about the interlock system. Yes, that's what Cyberpunk RED utilizes. Yeah, for some strange reason, I'm sure Tezzy Trekky's right. Some strange reason I was thinking Cyber Generation was another GDW role-playing game. Of course, we also have Shadowrun. Shadowrun is cyberpunk and fantasy. It's a mashup. I don't consider it to be cyberpunk, and I don't really consider it to be a role-playing game that you can take the fantasy elements out of in order to utilize just Shadowrun as a cyberpunk role-playing game. Kevin King asks, anyone tried Interface Zero? I think I shared a news piece about that when it was first coming out. J-Man points out D20 Modern had a cyberpunk style supplement. I would assume there were probably a good number of D20 cyberpunk systems or supplements that came out back in the day. Once again, that's fallen into the period where I really wasn't focusing on a lot of role-playing games. I was pretty much just, a computer game player, little bit of board gaming. So I kind of missed out on the whole D20 movement, which, like many things, just completely got out of hand. So, I mean, I've talked to people who were like, oh my gosh, D20 almost put role-playing games out of business. And I'm like, I don't know if it was that bad. But yes, I get it. It's like third-party 5e stuff. Over on Drive-Thru RPG or Dungeon Masters Guild, there's really good stuff. And then about 95% of it is just absolute dreck. Just how it is. So the Madman says they've run Interface Zero 2.0. Their group had a blast with it. I'm trying to remember who that's from. So Agile Monk says we had to have D20 to get to where we are today. I would think so. I would agree with you on that, from what I know. Because D20 was good for role-playing early on. Just kind of falls into that whole category where people talk about how much they hate not Magic the Gathering, Vampire the Masquerade, and World of Darkness. Because it's like, okay, all these splat books came out, and most stores that people went and bought games at were not maybe necessarily 100% devoted to tabletop games. So maybe they were a hobby shop that had role-playing games and maybe some board games, or maybe it was a place that had more board games. Or as an example, a place that I frequented a ton was Emperor's Headquarters in Chicago. And they were more historical miniatures and war games, but they also had a board game section. They also had a role-playing game section. And there was only so much real estate for role-playing games. And it got to the point where all this World of Darkness stuff forced everything out. So maybe you would have a little bit of D&D, but for the most part, it was Vampire the Masquerade or Werewolf the Apocalypse because it was selling. So, of course, other games couldn't get onto the shelves of these shops. Now, I do recall Emperor's Headquarters had the first Deadlands. That was something that actually was able to make its way into the one shelf area of role-playing game stuff. That's how I picked it up. But I'm like, So I know where people are coming from when they're talking about how, the World of Darkness stuff nearly killed the hobby. I see where they're coming from, and it's mainly because we didn't have the sort of resources we've got now, right? You had your local game store. You may have had some magazines that you picked up, like Shadis or Shadis, however you want to pronounce it, which maybe you saw some ads for role-playing games in, and you're like, oh, hey, that sounds kind of cool. I'm going to buy it directly from the publisher. And then, of course, you had some word of mouth, and that was about it. Yeah, we had the beginning of like bulletin boards, but the internet was still fairly new, and we all had like 2600 baud modems and stuff. So Tim King says Interface Zero is Gunmetal Games. Picked up 2.0 on a discount. Suede version. They've not played it yet. Yes, of course, we do have the Blade Runner RPG, which is cyberpunk, but it is very specific. So it is specifically Blade Runner. And up until we just got the Replicant Rebellion supplement, it was, for the most part, you playing as a Blade Runner. Yes, there were some rules for playing as a replicant, but you really didn't have any sort of background for that, for those replicants. Whereas now with Replicant Rebellion, sure, of course, you have them being part of the underground. Tessie Trekkie said, I mean, God's above and below. Private businesses shouldn't make money. God forbid. Anyway, somebody just mentioned, I think they said that the interlock system is brutal, that you can die getting out of bed. Are you trying to say that the mechanics are swingy? Agile Monk with another $5 super chat says today is their official anniversary of 52 years as a player, 50 years as a referee, DM, GM, CK, and their 62nd birthday. Well, happy birthday to you. Says, glad to be here sharing it with you awesome folks. Anyway, so I'm just giving you a peek inside Cyberpunk RED. I'm not necessarily discussing specific things regarding what we're looking at. Like I said, rather than just sitting here staring at my mug, figured I'd do a little bit of a page through for Cyberpunk RED. Something else that's in Cyberpunk RED's corner, I guess we will say, is that this is a very well supported role-playing game. There are new supplements coming out all the time. You just heard the news piece earlier. If you were watching from the open, the Night City 2045 supplement is out in PDF. There's free content every month as PDF downloads. So I know there are other cyberpunk role-playing games out there that people are talking about in chat. But, like Cyborg. Cyborg, I thought was pretty decent. It's not my favorite Borg game. Of course, that's Pirate Borg. I liked it. It had a map pack that came with it. Or not with it. It was on, something else you could get. Since then, I don't know if there's been anything published for Cyborg. Maybe some PDF stuff. But it's the kind of game that, came out. And then it's like, okay, well, that's it. Kind of like Osprey Games. A lot of the Osprey Games role-playing games that we see come out. They're pretty cool. And then they get absolutely zero support. So all you have is the core rulebook. That has never been the case with our Talsorian Games. and their Cyberpunk line. But I had mentioned Cyberpunk 2077. Also, if you enjoyed what is it? Is it Cyber Runners? The animated series on Netflix. I actually haven't checked it out, but also something that is built on the Talsorian Games cyberpunk setting. Just flipping on through, as I had mentioned before, I wish there was a little more artwork in the core book. As you can see, there are loads and loads of tables. There's lots of gear. There are a multitude of supplements, as I had pointed out. Now, there are a few things with Cyberpunk RED that I'm sort of like, I probably wouldn't really delve too far into. There's like an MMO RPG. So it's like a fantasy RPG that's like a big deal in Night City and the world of Cyberpunk. And there have actually been, I think they're PDF. I don't think like a print edition has come out, but there's actually been supplemental material for that. I probably wouldn't delve into it if I were running Cyberpunk RED. But in my opinion, and once again, it is simply my opinion, I think Cyberpunk RED is still absolutely the go-to cyberpunk role-playing game, even in 2026. I know in the past, there were some folks who didn't care for the, I guess we'll say, over-sexualization of females in the artwork in previous editions of Cyberpunk. That is not the case here any longer. So you don't have to concern yourself really with that. But all in all, this is just a really excellent role-playing game, sadly shackled in a core book that is not as intuitive as it certainly should be. And I hope that when Talsorian Games decides they're going to do like a refresh, they don't necessarily need to do a new edition. When they decide they're going to do a refresh of Cyberpunk RED, I really do hope that they bring somebody in, they bring in some additional eyes on this to really give it the layout that it should have, because it is a fantastic role-playing game. You can check out my review if you would like, but it is kind of shackled with a less than stellar layout as far as things go. All right. So that was just a peek inside Cyberpunk RED as we're talking about Cyberpunk RED. Now we'll just go back to my mug for the rest of the stream. But as far as the Cyberpunk role-playing games that are out there right now, and I'm sorry, in chat, if somebody did point out what Cyber Generation is about, I missed it. Because I am kind of curious what the difference is and if it's actually still being supported or not. Because there are some Talsorian games out there that you don't see a lot of content for, like Castle Falkenstein, The Witcher RPG. Now, they're not dead. I mean, they're still available for purchase and that. They're just not, at least to my knowledge, very heavily supported, whereas Cyberpunk RED is. But as far as the games that are out there, like, okay, so Blade Runner, right? Okay, Blade Runner, it's cyberpunk. It's very noirish. As far as cyberpunk goes, it is not your traditional cyberpunk. In fact, there are people out there who say Blade Runner really isn't cyberpunk at all, and I could see where they're coming from with that, because it's more science fiction noir than anything else. But the game itself has not had a ton of support. I just reviewed the Replicant Rebellion supplement, and it was more than a year late. And I think that has probably hurt the Blade Runner role-playing game. And funny enough, the Blade Runner role-playing game, when it came out, I don't think it moved as many units as Freely Publishing expected. I think the Blade Runner role-playing game, I think more people picked up the RPG because they're collectors of Blade Runner stuff, as opposed to that they were going to play it or they were going to run it, as opposed to, say, like Coriolis. I would take a guess that Blade Runner probably outsold Coriolis. I don't know, but I would think it probably did. But I would also think that there's probably more people playing Coriolis than playing Blade Runner, at least right now. So Grim Shady points out that Neuromancer was noirish as well. Let's see. Just taking a peek at chat here. Yes, Agile Monk also pointed out Pirate Borg is hands down their favorite board game too. Daryl Errett, if I remember right, I thought I saw Daryl had mentioned that they had played Cyberpunk and Cyberpunk 2020, but they had not played Red yet. And they mentioned they always figured they'll wait for a better organized print release. Yeah, I was surprised by that. I don't think it's to the point where it should dissuade you from picking the game up. I don't believe that at all. For one, because mechanically it's an easy game. So it's not like, oh, well, if you're doing this, you got to use these dice. And if you're doing this, use these dice. And if you're doing this, you got a mini game you got to mess around with. No, it's all, for the most part, the same mechanics with your 10-sided die roll, adding or subtracting modifiers, looking to meet or exceed either another roll from an NPC or another character or a difficulty value. So that's pretty easy. It's just, I think informationally, it's almost like cut and paste. So, but yeah, I don't mean to harp on that aspect of it, but it is something really obvious when you start reading it. But once again, I will also point out, I think Cyberpunk RED, as far as the core book itself, has more really cool ideas and cool things packed into it than some role-playing games have in their entire line of books and splats and stuff like that. But okay, so we've got that. We've got Cyborg. So I was talking about Blade Runner. Now, Cyborg, I liked. Once again, something that hasn't gotten any support, really. Maybe third-party wise it has, but I haven't seen, outside of I think it was the character sheet pack, the map pack, and the core rule book. I think that's all that's out from Free League Publishing. I think that's it. Now, with the game license that's available for it, I'm sure there's some third-party products out there, but I don't know. I don't know, what the quality of those are going to be, because once again, we also got to keep in mind, to be very honest, there is a lot of steaming trash that's released for Merkborg all the time. It is a real crapshoot when you're picking up third-party products for board games, because some of them are just so art punk with no gaming material in there, or very minimal gaming material, that it's kind of a waste, unless you're just picking it up for the art. Kim King says Blade Runner rules are certainly easier than Cyberpunk RED. Yeah. I mean, you are looking at a dice pool, so that's not too difficult. I think the thing that's that, like I said, that works against Blade Runner is it's an IP that is licensed. So right there, you're tied into that. So you can't just release, oh, hey, you know what? It would be really cool if we did a supplement about XYZ. You can't just put it together. You've got to run it past the corporate bean counters and stuff. And then I have also heard, as far as some licensed IPs that have been out there, that there are times where the role-playing game publisher is given the A-OK to pursue something. They put something together. They start sharing previews of it with the corporate bean counters and such, the IP holders, really. And they get shut down. It's like, no, you know what? No, well, we don't want to do it. Because a lot of times with a role-playing game that's built on some other IP, it's, whatever you do is going to end up being canon. So if it doesn't specifically fit into what the IP holder wants or feels is appropriate for their setting or whatever, their property, you're shit out of luck. Let's see. What somebody say? Was it board trash? I thought I just saw somebody posted something. Oh, there it is. Agile Monk. Board trash has become an industry of its own. Yes. Yes. GURPS, I can't tell you about GURPS as far as Cyberpunk. I've never seen any of their Cyberpunk stuff. I think the last time I owned anything for GURPS, it was around 2nd edition. I think it was 2nd edition. It would have been the 1990s. So that would have been the last time I had anything for GURPS. But I had stuff like wild cards for GURPS. I had Alan Dean Foster's Flinks. I had that. I had a lot of GURPS stuff. Yeah, it's too bad that, I don't get along with Steve Jackson Games and they don't like me either. So, oh well. Spelling Mistake says they got to play Symborum once and it was fun. I saw there was a news piece. I didn't dive into it yet, but it was from Free League Publishing. I think they're doing a 10th anniversary Kickstarter in May. I don't know if it's going to be new stuff or if it's going to be like reprints, because I think there are a good number of Symborum releases that are out of print. They might be available for Ruins of Symborum, which is the 5e equivalent. But I'll probably have a news piece about that. Well, I don't like sharing news pieces before a Kickstarter begins. And the reason is because I share a good amount of news. I would say the Gaming Gang website, and even here on the live stream, because I'll post news that doesn't get on the live shows. Probably one of the top providers of tabletop gaming news, especially tabletop role-playing games. So when I share a news piece about something that's upcoming on Kickstarter, I figure people will have forgotten it by the time it launches. So, and I'm not one of these people, I don't like to share like multiple news pieces about the same thing. So I like to keep things fresh. The Tabletop Scholar has joined us tonight. Welcome. Good to see you again. Says GURPS is dated at this point. Great for the time period. Ooh, better not let any GURPS fans hear that. Because that is a role-playing game that the fanatics will certainly defend. Because to me, I think GURPS is, well, if you want that sort of complexity, that's fine. That's cool. It's more crunch than I'm willing to deal with nowadays. And I've had people try to tell me that GURPS there's no complexity to GURPS. GURPS is easy. It's like, no, it's not. No, it's not. Roll up a character for GURPS. Tell me how long it takes. It is not quick moving. But yes, as the Tabletop Scholar points out, love them as sourcing material. Great research in them. Yeah, like I said, I had tons of GURPS books. I had GURPS Conan. I had like GURPS Fantasy, and I had the core books and stuff like that. But I was always impressed by just the sheer amount of splat books that came out for GURPS and stuff that you really wouldn't necessarily expect. If I remember correctly, I think I may have even had a Lensman GURPS supplement. Now, who's going to put something like that together nowadays? Nobody. So, Spelling Take says they picked up Syndrome in a humble bundle a while back. Haven't looked through it much. The world seems interesting. That is really its selling point, in my opinion. I think is its setting. But they said their group is more into lighthearted, heroic fantasy. That it is not, but it's not like I wouldn't consider it grimdark, because it's a fantasy world where the big bad has been defeated and there's a lot of ruin, but there's rebuilding and things going on. So it's not like a Shadow of the Demon Lord where it's like, oh, it's over, everybody. I'm not knocking Shadow of the Demon Lord. I'm not overly familiar with it, to be honest. But I do understand it. It's like, oh, well, all this bad shit's going to happen and the end is nigh. There really isn't anything you can do about it. That's really not my bag of tricks. So it's my answer to the question. Is Cyberpunk RED really still the go-to role-playing game for Cyberpunk in 2026? And my answer would be a resounding yes. I think with the sheer amount of content that's available for it, the ongoing support that Cyberpunk RED gets from our Talsorian Games, the fact that much of the cyberpunk genre that people are familiar with these days is actually built off of this role-playing game, not necessarily Cyberpunk RED, but Cyberpunk from our Talsorian Games. I gotta say, this is still the go-to Cyberpunk RPG this year and probably for the foreseeable future. And I'm a big fan. I like it quite a bit. All right. So we got a few more minutes. We can chat a little bit. Agile Monk says they like Shadow of the Weird Wizard better. The Robert Schwalb actually had sent the PDFs. I'm going to say it was for the core book and the GM book. And I had Sammy review them because I don't review PDFs. And if I remember correctly, I think she gave them like a 7 or 8. So she liked them. But yeah, I have not taken a peek. My understanding, it's still kind of a 5e. Well, okay, I'll take that back. my understanding, I think it's still a 5e adjacent role-playing game. I can't tell you if that's true or not. Like I said, I didn't really even peek at the PDFs because I knew Sammy would do the reviews, plural, I should say. But yeah, I could see where the Shadow of the Weird Wizard is probably more appreciated by more gamers than Demon Lord. And it's because Weird Wizard is supposed to be more, like epic high fantasy than anything else. So Agile Monk says, yes, Shadow of the Weird Wizard and Secrets of the Weird Wizard. Those are the two books. And I will say Schwalbe Entertainment does support their role-playing games pretty well. And they have not ignored the Shadow of the Demon Lord simply because they came out with a different role-playing game. Like I said, my understanding is mechanically they're pretty much the same, if not very, very similar. It's just that the Secrets Shadow, the Weird Wizard, I guess we'll say, tends to be kind of epic fantasy as opposed to grimdark fantasy. Once again, I am not necessarily the biggest expert around in that because I haven't taken a peek at any of those. Arcane Magus is with us. Welcome. All right. Anything else here in chat? Anybody wants to fire away a question or something? You can wrap up. And again, maybe not. Oh, hey, I know what I can mention. So I shared my review of Call of Cthulhu Campfire Tales, Scouts Against Cthulhu from my friends over at Chaosium Inc. And I just knew I was going to get some comment from somebody whining and complaining about there being white kids and kids of different skin colors all together in a scout group in 1918 and how that's not historically accurate. In fact, I knew I was going to get a comment about it, at least one, where I had thought I should probably just nip this in the bud right here in the review video. And I thought, but of course, I got one earlier today. And it's like, okay. It was funny because I saw this is the weird thing. I saw there was a comment responding to that comment. But then I didn't see it showing up on the actual video in the comments. The original comment is there talking about, I got the feeling that the person who was making the comment wasn't American because they did not capitalize the word American. I was like, that's kind of a giveaway. Troy Cornelson's with us in chat. Welcome aboard. So the weird thing was somebody had commented, and it was almost like what I would have probably responded with too. But weirdly enough, I didn't see the response showing up. So I went, on the back end, my YouTube studio to see what the hell's going on. I don't know. For whatever reason, this comment this response was not showing up. But here's what I don't get, right? So, okay, so Scouts Against Cthulhu. Funny enough, check out the review because you're probably thinking, yeah, what is it, like a kiddie version of Call of Cthulhu? No, it is not. You might be surprised. Anyway, the thing that drives me nuts is when people sit there And they make these asinine comments about how a role-playing game is not historically accurate. How it was, what were they like? Gender, it was, the comment was something like gender neutral, multicolored scout group or some shit like that. And I think to myself, okay, so at what point do these people not realize that they're getting all worked up, all bent out of shape? Because obviously they're fucking racist. Let's not even pretend that that's not the deal. Come on. And I don't give a shit if somebody gets mad because I'm saying this. I'm sorry, the racism is strong with these people. But I scratch my head because it's like, okay, so you're getting all worked up about a role-playing game. The adventure is set in 1918. And it's not historically accurate because you have girls together with the boys in the Scouts, which actually did happen. I don't know if it was that early. And you've got little Asian kids and African-American kids and Hispanic kids and whatever, right? Not historically accurate. Oh, yeah? So what part about Great Cthulhu is historically accurate? What part of Arkham, Massachusetts, which has never existed, is not historically accurate? Or the little town that they introduce in this new supplement? It's like, so are the monsters historically accurate? Is the mythos magic? Is that historically accurate? Are the cults and the cultists historically accurate? I'm kind of curious. Why do you get upset about something not being historically accurate in a fucking game of make-believe? And the only answer I've got to that is the racism is strong. Sexism is strong in certain aspects too, especially when another Chaosium role-playing game, which is fantastic, but it has set off some people because you can play as a female knight. And of course, I'm talking about Pendragon. It's like, okay, so, like, so are you also implying that the magic that Merlin uses is not historically accurate? Or the questing beast isn't historically accurate? It's like, it's a game of make-believe. And if you at your table don't want children of different ethnicities to be hanging around in a scout troop, well, guess what? Nobody's forcing you to. But to actually publicly comment, it's like, get the fuck out of here. It's like, man. Just don't get it. Just don't get it. All right. Agile Monk, I guess, was getting a kick out of that. Spelling Mistake says, just ignore these idiots. They're keyboard warriors that are desperate for attention because they have nothing of value in their lives and they're too lazy to build something that matters. Oh, I completely agree. I don't get worked up over this. That's why I didn't personally comment, because I was like, well, this other person, they got them pretty good. But weirdly enough, like I said, last I looked, I didn't see the comment was public, and it wasn't like I was blocking it or anything. So, Monkeys with us says, was Call of Cthulhu historical? Yes. No need to strawman this. I have no problem with it. Please stop calling people racist. I will say, fuck yeah. If you got a big fucking issue because of the mixing of ethnicities in a role-playing game, yeah, that smacks of racism. And I'm sorry, Don't give me the historically accurate bullshit. It's a game of make-believe. End of story. But the thing is, because of course, in the comment, they were calling out Chaosium. And it's like I said before, if you don't want that in your game, fine. It's your game. It's your game table. Nobody's forcing you to do these things that you don't want in your game. So, Man says, if you ignore racism, you're part of the problem. So, no, I'm not straw manning anything. So, and honestly, if you don't like it, don't let the door hit you on the way out. Let's see. Troy Cornelson said, same people who didn't like Rings of Power for the reason of dark-skinned elves. Wasn't sure who in real life has been to Middle Earth. Yeah. Oh, I will point out, I watched the first episode of Rings of Power, and I did think, oh, that's kind of wacky, but I was like, all right, whatever. Wasn't the reason I didn't care for the show. Ravenclaw says, seems that integrated scouts started around the 1920s, mostly in the South, where troops strictly segregated. Spilling Mid-Take says, please don't invite me to your table if so, though. Yeah, well, that's also part of it, too. Anyway. Danny Gable says, if you don't want to be called racist, don't do racist shit. Anyway. Kim King said, older scouts will play this. What kind of person wants to bring a segregated game to that and tell half the kids they can't play? They exist. They're out there. They are out there in the hobby. Because they're out there in everything. So why wouldn't they? Right? So, and like I said, I'm not here to tell people what to do at their game table. I've said that umpteen times. But to publicly comment on stuff because you're pissed off about something as bizarre as that, yeah, I think that person's got an issue. I think they do. I could be wrong, but I doubt it. All right. So that is it for this time out. I'm not sure what tomorrow's topic is going to be yet. I'm sure I'll think of something. We could always do like an AMA too. But yeah, I'm sure I'll come up with something. Anyway, that's it for this time out. If you were watching live, thank you very much. If you watched live and took part in chat, a beer thank you. You get a tip of the cap because not only are you keeping me company, you're also keeping each other company while I'm sharing the news or pontificating about a topic or saying that some commenters out there are racist. But hey, I know a lot of folks out there, they don't have an opportunity to watch live. Doesn't matter if you're watching live or on Memorex. Really do appreciate people taking time out to watch any of the videos here on the channel as the Tabletop Scholar with a $5 Canadian super chat. Wishing a good night. Thank you for the content. Well, thank you for the super chat. And thank you for hanging out with us. I always appreciate that quite a bit. But of course, like I said, a lot of people, they don't have an opportunity to watch live. Doesn't matter if you're watching live or on Memorex. Thank you for taking time out to watch any of the videos here on the channel. And of course, if you like the video, by all means, please give it a quick thumbs up. Subscribe to the Gaming Gang channel if you haven't already. And if you do subscribe, don't forget, ring that bell because it'll not only let you know when the Dispatch streams live Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday evenings at 7 p.m. Central here on YouTube, Hopefully, if you select the all notifications, maybe, I don't know, could be. But if you happen to ring that bell, you should also be informed when I share other videos, such as my aforementioned review of Call of Cthulhu Campfire Tales Scouts Against Cthulhu from Chaosium Inc. All right, everybody. Enjoy the rest of your morning, afternoon, evening, whatever time of day it is in your neck of the woods. Once again, I'm Jeff McAleer. And as always, I certainly hope each and every one of you get to enjoy plenty of great gaming with your gang.